Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen. I'm joined by my partner, former NHL defenseman Tom Laidlaw, who played 11 seasons for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. This is the Laidlaw and Allen Report. We come to you twice a week to talk all things hockey. And Tom, a lot to talk about in the hockey world is, now that we're moving closer to the March 21st trade deadline, lots of discussion over the weekend. The one goalie that everyone's talked about, Steve Simmons, who's been around the league for a long time, is reporting that Marc-Andre Fleury has told the Blackhawks that he's not going anywhere.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, so if he's not going anywhere, I just don't know that. That takes a little bit of the flash out of the trade market.
Yeah, it certainly does, right? So I guess the question here locally is: would the Rangers trade their what is their backup goaltender now in Georgiev? He's a young player who has somewhat proven himself. He's proven that he's a quality goaltender, not necessarily very consistently. He hasn't really had the chance because Shesterkin's so good. But I don't know if the Rangers would do that or not unless they felt like they had somebody else that could be that backup goaltender for them. So,
plus, I don't know what the goaltending market is. The Washington Capitals. I listened very carefully to Brian McClellan, and he basically said that he didn't think he was going to be as aggressive as he normally is because he didn't think the team is playing up to the level they would like to see it play. And, if they're not going to make a goalie move, then who does that leave? It leaves Edmonton. And I've had a source I trust tell me that he doesn't think the Oilers are going to make a goalie move.
Wow. And then what about Colorado?
Kemper he's won like 20 out of his last 22. What do you do in that situation?
Very true.
I think you stand pat. The only question is that he certainly has some history of getting hurt. Right. To me, I've always felt like I've never believed in the phrase injury prone. I tend to think it's bad luck.
Yeah.
But still, I don't think they're going to make a move. So that leaves the one dark horse I see is the Minnesota Wild. And I say that because they haven't played as well lately. The goaltending hasn't been quite as good. Talbot has just been so-so. Next year, the buyout retentions of salary is going to be a little more difficult to deal with. And if you're going to go all in, like this is the year to do it. They're a pretty good team. They score some goals and why not go out and try to improve your goaltending a little bit?
But if you're Minnesota, you're saying, okay, so you've got Tampa, you got Florida, you got Carolina, you throw the Rangers in the mix, Pittsburgh's in that mix, Colorado, Vegas. So there's your contenders, right? Is Minnesota saying, okay, we're in that group of teams that can contend and win the cup?
I think they are. They played well enough early on to say they are,
right.
But it's not going to get any like they're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
They're not rebuilding. They're a pretty good team. And then next year, it's going to become more difficult for them for a couple of seasons or three.
That's because of the buyout of
Parise and Suter.
Yeah.
So
I guess I'm looking though. I'm saying, all right. Okay, so if I go for it this year, what do I want? Do I want a goaltender? And saying Talbot's not good enough? And who's out there then that I want?
Well, that's what they have to decide, whether there's anybody there that's an improvement over what they have.
Right. How about Murray up in Ottawa? I know they'd sent him to the minors, but isn't he back playing better now?
Yeah, but is he better than Talbot? I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not going there. The one guy that would intrigue me, but Dallas is now in it. It would be Holtby.
Yeah,
Holtby's won a cup, knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's true. So Dallas, then that also means moving away from goaltenders, and Pavelski's not going anywhere.
Yeah. No, that's huge. There's tears flowing, I'm sure, in some GM's offices. Yeah. He would be a lovely guy to have. And now, the Sharks are really trying to sign Hurdle. So what if Hurdle gets signed? What if Pavelski isn't traded?
Right. Who's left? So your guy Sherrod up in Montreal, he'll be something. Right?
Yeah. Well, for sure. But and then Lindholm, the defenseman in Anaheim, the Ducks are making every effort to sign him as well.
Right. And then
So
in Arizona, you've got what's his name, the defenseman there that we don't understand why they're trading him. Chikrin.
yeah. I'm not so sure he's going to get traded before the trade deadline.
Really? Why do you say that?
Well, because there's no reason to rush into this. You can do it in the summer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
isn't the trade deadline though when you get your best value? Don't you think, or do you wait till?
no, I think it's in the off season.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because the contenders can't give up players off their roster, not good players.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, you're right.
So,
So nothing. So what's going to happen on the trade deadline?
I mean, we've seen trade deadline shows where the guys sit there for 2 or 3 hours.
Right. Right.
So
it's like 6th, 7th, 5th, or 5th, 6th, 7th defensemen. 3rd, 4th line guys.
Well, I mean, there's going to be some players that move that are certainly interesting.
So how about Drew then? Has Drew told Philly what he wants to do yet? Because he's got the no move as well, right?
Yeah, he's going to move. So I think Colorado still he's the guy in him. Although Florida, I hear, is making a little bit of bid for him. The Chuck Fletcher was seen scouting the Panthers prospect game. Owen Tippett would be the guy that I would think they're looking at.
Right.
He's a prospect that hasn't quite lived up to expectations, but is still pretty good. So I could see that happening. And I'm trying to think who else is out there. Well, Klingberg's not going to move. We got Giordano, Nick Leddy, Sherratt, Manson, Ristolainen, some very good defensemen. We're a little light on the forwards.
Yeah, no kidding.
So now I heard, I know I didn't hear this. I read this, and I don't know whether it's to be trusted or not. But I saw a story when it was suggested that maybe there was something to the idea of Kakko going perhaps to Buffalo in a deal for
Kakko?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for trying to think.
They want a defenseman?
Olofsson. They're Victor Olofsson.
Oh.
Now, I think that's nuts. And so that's why I have trouble believing that.
Yeah.
Just because, Olofsson was a 7th round pick. He had one really good season, but he was just, pretty good last year. He's going to be 27 this year.
Yeah.
So, I don't see it, but that's what I did read. And
yeah, and I guess I can't see the Rangers giving up on Kakko yet. I mean,
yeah,
he hasn't done much, but
that's a yet, though. You just gave me a yet.
Yes, I do. He has not done much. So,
no,
he's shown that he has the talent to be a big time player, a top 6 forward, but he hasn't really put it together yet. So,
is he skating toward this Duchesne Eichel zone?
I don't. You know what? I would not see. Here's the Duchesne Eichel zone is because there's clearly talent there, but I haven't seen that team play yet. With Kakko, he's that young player that's still trying to show how good he is. I don't think he's got to that point yet where he's a team player or not a team player yet. So he's not in that zone yet. Although Eichel did score the game winner last night, I guess.
He did. Yeah, he did score that. Yeah, and I want you to know I sent the letters off to Pietrangelo and Stone and notifying them that they no longer had to worry that it was all on Eichel. That Tom has decreed that it's totally up to him. To, he's got to get.
Did you sign your name on it or put my name on it?
Oh no, I signed your name for sure. It's no different than where you order room service and put your teammate's name on the bill. Eichel did. But I will say this. In the Eichel era of Vegas, 3-4-1. Yeah. That's not 500.
I know.
So
I just think he is that kind of guy. And maybe it isn't necessarily his fault either. It's all the buildup that here comes Jack Eichel, right? He's gonna take us to the promised land, right? I just don't see it. But now here's a player who'll take you to the promised land, though. Susan Brooks is on this bandwagon. Igor for Vezina, Igor for MVP, Igor Shesterkin.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, he was good again last night.
Yeah, the Rangers are playing good. They're a good hockey team. Sometimes they're having a hard time scoring goals, but man, it doesn't matter how they're playing. When as long as they're getting 2 or 3 goals, they're going to win the hockey game. He's incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I was shocked. I saw, was it I don't know if it was the NHL. No, I think it was ESPN. Or somebody put out a meme on the MVP race, and they had all these candidates listed, but there was no Igor.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and I thought, like, wow. And
where would that be from? It was one individual writer.
No, it was a group. I think it was like I think it was the television network, maybe TSN or ESPN or whatever. I don't want to blame one in particular because I don't remember where I saw it. But someone was just talking about the MVP race, and they put up a graphic, not a meme, a graphic. Put up a graphic, and in that graphic they had Austin Matthews and they had Connor McDavid and so forth. But there was no Igor, and I looked at that going, why is that we just have such a hard time seeing a goalie in the MVP race? Like, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. I hate that.
Especially was up in Canada, they're really not paying attention, and they're seeing Kreider score all the goals and Bushevich. I mean, Zibanejad playing so well. Maybe they're thinking that's how they're winning, right? To me, they're in that watching the games.
I just hate when. And when I was president of the Writers Association, I felt the same way, and I used to bring it up to people. Don't make your own rules for the like I just saw someone say that they're not really going to consider Bunting because he's older,
right.
But he falls within the age grouping of the NHL. Right. So does the NHL say consider all players to 26, but wait toward younger players? Is that what the rule says, or does it say these are the people that are eligible,
right?
And between this group, pick who's ever had the best season,
right? And so then MVP. So the true definition is most valuable player to his team, correct?
Yes, that is right. Although I've never really liked that because that makes no sense. I mean, because you could have just a horrendous team,
right?
Horrendous team, and you have a guy having a great year, and without them, they would have been even worse. And because you've seen it, like a bad team, and somebody says, "Man, if they wouldn't have lost, if they would have lost so and so, it would have been even worse."
Oh, I agree, especially the goaltending position too, right?
Right.
Yeah. I just don't see a player, Shesterkin. I don't see anybody around the league that is more valuable to their team than Shesterkin. I know Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews; those players are great, but you take Shesterkin out of that lineup, you don't play him.
Yeah,
I don't know what the record be. So,
I'm hoping I'll have a vote again this year. I'm back in the business. So, but right now he would be my choice for MVP.
Right.
I mean, how is he any different than when Hasek was with Buffalo, or when Theodore had that great season for Montreal?
Do you think? Well, obviously, you said with that list there, he wasn't even on the list. Do you think there really is a bias towards goaltenders not MVPs?
Oh, for sure.
Huh.
I just think that we tend not to look. We tend to see them as in a different category.
Huh.
So yeah, I mean, you can just tell that by how valuable are goalies to a team every year, and yet how many have we had win MVP?
That's right too. How many have we had?
Not that many.
Yeah. Wow.
So
when is Hasek maybe the last one that you?
No.
Carey Price, right?
No. Yeah. Was it Carey Price? Yeah. I mean, let's look it up. I think it was Carey, but.
Well, we're on the subject then of awards, and then my guy Gerard Gallant, that's how we pronounce it correctly, Gallant, should have to be Coach of the Year then too, right?
No, there's so many good ones. I don't know how you could say that.
I know.
I mean, that's not even.
Well, like even in Florida, there, who was it that took over for?
Yeah, I would. To be honest with you, I wouldn't consider him.
Wouldn't consider?
Well, I mean, I see him as a list, but he's not among my. Okay. I just want to get this in because I think it's an important thing to bring up, and it proves my point. I want to prove my point. So
Yes, you have to prove a point. While you're doing that, we'll let you do your research. The Sunday meal yesterday, we went to a different country. We went to a different continent, actually. We went to Nigeria and made jollof spaghetti. Oh, tasty.
Okay, so we were right. It is Carey Price, 2014-15. And before then, we have to go all the way back to 2001, 2002 with Tador. And then we go back to 97, 98, and we got back-to-backs with Hasek. And then before 1997,
Marty Brodeur?
No, we got to go back a long way. Let's see here.
Well, that's interesting.
Boy, we're going back a long way. No, that can't be right. Jacques Plante in 62. Is that right?
Oh, is that right? Eh? Wow.
Let me see. Yeah, and then we had the 80s and 90s. It was just Wayne and Mario and Yager. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, it just goes to show you that, people tend to, just for some reason, not think of goalies when they're voting on that.
That's interesting. What the logic is there? Yeah. I guess maybe it's one of the things that people they just are not used to voting for goaltenders, so they just don't even think about it that much, right?
I guess I don't know what the reason is but I think there should be goalies considered, and I think some writers look at the whole thing, but I don't know why. One thing I would say too, now this will irritate Ranger fans, but I've seen this people talk about that Igor has taken over from Vasilevsky as the best goalie in the league. I don't think you can say that yet. And this is my argument on that. Yeah. He hasn't won anything yet. I mean, you've got Vasilevsky's won 2 Stanley Cup championships, a Vezina, a Conn Smythe, a World Championship.
So you have to win championships before you can be the best goaltender in the NHL?
Well, I think you've got to have, prove yourself in the playoffs. Like, I don't think we can watch him over, 55 games and say a guy that's been doing this now for 3 or 4 years. I think I'm not saying he's having the better year. There's no doubt. Yeah. But I don't know that yet you can say he's the best goalie in the league.
Yeah, I hear you. I was going to try to argue with you there, but I do hear you. You got to see him at pressure games where Vasilevsky is proven.
Yeah, and it may prove that he's going to dethrone him in this postseason. Maybe he's going to be so spectacular that we're going to go, oh boy. Yeah. Because Vasilevsky, to me, hasn't been as great as he's been in the past this season.
Yeah, totally. So, he's still in the top 3 of goaltenders in the National Hockey League. But yeah, you're right.
But I think he's earned his respect. Yeah. He's got the hardware, he's got the success, and I know you put a lot of emphasis on that. I mean, what do you say about Eichel? You don't like him as a player because he hasn't led his team to team success. Well, Igor, it's not his fault. He hasn't been around long enough. But right now, he has yet to prove that he can do that. Now,
he's proven he's got the ability. It looks like he can do it.
Yeah, for sure. And he's proven that he's had a much better year than Vasilevsky. Yeah. Although I'm thinking Vasilevsky will still be in the Vezina, hunt.
So the 3 in the Vezina hunt, then Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, and who else?
Markstrom, maybe. I would have said Saros would be in the hunt too, but he's kind of hit the wall a little bit. Vancouver. Nashville's having a little bit of difficulty there.
Yeah, I know they are.
So,
all right. Here's an interesting one for Ranger fans. Kreider should be made captain before the playoffs. I guess my answer to my question is that's been a big well, not as much during the regular season because they've been successful, but at the start of the season that was a big topic. And Gallant made 6 players as assistant captains. I guess, to me, Kreider looks like he is the captain of the team, the leader of the team at this point. But I don't know why if they want to do it, I don't know really if it changes anything. I mean, he's going to be the captain by being the captain that he is, whether he's got the C on his jersey or not. But
well, I checked to you on that because you played, but I would say that I have talked to people, players who have said, we all know who the leader is on the team.
Oh,
Yeah, we could give someone to see, but there are people who stand up in a room, and we pay attention to some more than others. So
James Patrick, we do the show with him on Thursday, and he brought up a really interesting point. He said the people you should ask the most about who the real leader is in the locker room when nobody else is around, no coaches around, whatever, is ask the trainers. Because they see those guys interact all the time. Sometimes guys will put on a little bit of a show when the coach walks in the room, or they'll act a little differently. But the trainer sees those players at all times, after practice, games, traveling. They see who the real leader is and who is it. Not that you would go to them for a vote, but it's kind of an interesting comment, I thought, for a guy that played so long. I mean, James played for like 21 years and coached so long that was his take. I don't know if he ever actually went to the trainers, but he thought that was. Those are the guys that know better than anybody else.
Yeah, well, trainers used to have a lot of power on a team. They knew what was going on, and they were the emergency backup goalie half the time, or equipment. They did it all. So that's interesting. But it's down the stretch here. We've had some developments. We've seen the Minnesota Wild falter.
Yeah.
We've seen Dallas step up. There's some people think that maybe you're among them. Think that Vegas might be in trouble.
Yeah, I am among them. And it's amazing because I look at that lineup, and I like Stone a lot. I like Pietrangelo a lot. They had that thing going on there. And I have to go back to Gallant when he was coaching. I think he's a fantastic coach. Why did they fire him? Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes. I don't know. But I see the success he's having now. I think they had before this mentality that it was us against the world kind of thing. We weren't necessarily the best player. We had this fantastic goaltender in Marc-Andre Fleury, who was a tremendous leader, great personality. And then they went and changed them. I know that Marc-Andre Fleury is getting older. His career is, they had to get another goaltender in there at some point. Leonard is who they wanted. To me, they changed the makeup of the team here, and then they add the Eichel thing to it, which definitely takes you a long way away from the face of the team that they had before. So I really do doubt that team now. I think they're still a good hockey team, but they don't have the same feel to the team that they had before. That's my concern.
Well, another team I wanted to talk about too, because there's sort of there's a couple of teams like this. I think the high profile teams in the NHL are Toronto, Montreal, and the Rangers.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel. And the Red Wings are right under that group.
Chicago.
Chicago's right under that. Boston. But those three, they're like the Yankees.
Yeah.
All of them are like the Yankees.
Yep.
And so what they do is always national news. And Toronto's goaltending, I saw a real interesting statistic, and I'm not going to quote it verbatim because I don't remember, but since early December, their goaltender, Jack Campbell, has an .892 save percentage. That means he had one incredibly great month, plus a couple of weeks. And then since then, he's been so-so. Now, Kyle Dubas came out and says, I'm fine with my goalies, both of them. I like them both, which he's supposed to say. He's supposed to say that. And I'm happy with that. And sort of implied, at least that's what I got from the thing, that maybe this was a defensive problem, not a goaltending problem. So he's out there actively looking. Some people think that Manson is their guy in Anaheim. Some people think Ristolainen might be their guy out of Philadelphia. We're right where we always are with Toronto. They got a great offense, but will they be able to do it? Defensively. What's your thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, another thing. Listen, talent-wise, they are an incredibly talented hockey team. They can put the puck in the net with Austin Matthews and Marner. I just don't see a team that's committed to playing well defensively that has that. And we talk about, Washington was like that before they won their Stanley Cup. Talented players. Ovechkin, I love how hard he played. This is flair for the game. He's fantastic. He'll go down as one of the greatest players ever. But until he learned how to win, how to sacrifice, he was just going to be that guy, good guy in the regular season, but never won anything. But now he's learned how to win. Now they haven't done it again, but they know what they're supposed to be doing. I just see Toronto right there now. They have not. they haven't shown me that they've learned from their losses. Losing to Montreal the way they did in last season. I just don't see the real difference in the team makeup, the attitude about the team, the way they approach the games. Maybe this is a good thing or bad thing. Somebody just tell me about their record. When they're playing good hockey teams, they play better. When they play the bad teams, like they lost to Buffalo 5-1 the other night at home, they don't seem to get up for it. To me, that's a sign of a team like the New York Islanders. Although we're never perfect, you go back to we played against them all the time, and they're winning all the Stanley Cups. They won when they were supposed to win. They found ways to win. Toronto's still that team, that young team that doesn't show up some nights. When you lose to Buffalo and you got the talent they do right in Toronto, it just shows me that they're not I hate to say it like this, they just haven't grown up yet to be that professional team. And again, I don't mean to be disrespectful because they got some fantastic players. But I haven't seen that in them, that winning mentality, that the Boston Bruins had for so long. Like I said, the Islanders, the Edmonton Oilers, although the Edmonton Oilers turned it on and off too with that talented offensive team they had. But I just don't see that Toronto's learned a lesson yet how to win. But.
Yeah, it is. This has been going on a long time. For those of you keeping score at home, 1967.
Yeah, that's right.
So, what year were you born, Tom?
58. So I remember watching them win their Stanley Cup. Yeah.
Yeah.
9 years old. Yeah. 9 years old. What did Rick Nash win here? Wesley Rich, well deserved, was a great Ranger.
Well, they had his number retired.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, in Columbus.
Yes. Great number 61. So
that's right. Is that the only number retired? Is that the only number retired in Columbus?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I always get up on my my soapbox for retired numbers. I find it interesting. People comment, "Oh, that why would they do that?" And I have to remind people that a retirement of a number has nothing to do with having Hall of Fame credentials. The retirement of a number speaks to the popularity of the player within the city. And that's what that's supposed to be about. Like if you look around the league, there are some names of retired players that might scratch your head just because you don't understand how popular they were.
Like in Washington, for example, Yvon Lambert, right? Most people wouldn't know who he was outside of Washington, right?
Yeah, LeBray, yeah.
Is it LeBray?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
See, I can't even say his name, so shows.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really does speak to the popularity, like what the fans thought about him. It certainly helps the player if he was a great player because that also, makes you popular. So, that one, it was on all levels. He was popular. He was a great player. All the rest. So I want to give you LeBray's stats here in Washington, just to give you.
They call him Lambert. I changed his name.
No, yeah, you did. You did change his name. That's okay. So he played 371 games in the. Let me see here. So.
Can't find him. He's not even in the database.
Yeah, just having trouble today. What kind of day is this for me? It's Monday, I guess.
Yeah, You're partying all weekend, having fun.
Yeah, that's totally me. 371 games. Oh gosh, now he's slipped away from me here. He's got no goals to speak of.
So why was he a tough guy? Was he tough?
He was one of the original, Capitals for one thing. Okay. Let me see what it says about him here. Yeah. In LeBray's contributions to the success of the Capitals extended well beyond the boundaries of the rink. A member of the inaugural 1974-75 Capitals, he was a rugged defenseman whose solid physical play. Based on that description, Tom, you should have your number hanging down.
Well, my number is retired at Madison Square Garden.
So
got the wrong name on it there, Brian Leach.
Your number's retired for sure.
Yeah.
LeBray is notably remembered for scoring the Capitals' first goal ever at the Cap Center. I'm sure he wore the C. for his, and then he became an assistant coach and was a color commentator on the broadcast.
Oh,
He
okay.
was then the director of community relations and continued. So, it was about that. But I think they're a real good example of they understood the Capitals of what retiring a number was all about. I mean, it isn't necessarily now saying all that. When you're Montreal and Toronto, you got to be a great player. So,
Yes.
I mean, it's just different.
Yes, that's true.
We see it a lot in the NBA. In the Detroit, for example, I'm pretty sure Vinnie Johnson of the Pistons has his number retired. And he was a guy that came off the bench, but boy, was he popular. Because he could come in and light it up. So,
speaking of popular, I need to ask you your opinion on something.
Yeah.
So Ron Duguay, very popular player with the New York Ranger fans. Mr. Soon the whole bit. So on this Friday night, we have a great event for the Ronald McDonald House. They call it the Skate with the Greats at Chelsea Piers in Manhattan. Now, yours truly, last time I had it was the MC. I am the MC again this Friday night. They give me a script to read off. Now, they also give me the leeway to now go off on my own a little bit and make comments, which is a scary thought. But Ron Duguay, as you know, has been dating Sarah Palin lately. So now, two questions for you. First of all, do you think it's appropriate for me to make some kind of a comment about maybe calling Ron Mr. Sarah Palin or something like that, or Mr. Ron Palin? And secondly, should I ask him prior to it, or just go ahead and do it if I'm going to do it?
Well, I would ask him. I mean, you're friends, but I think it's appropriate, but you got to be careful with those. You know what I mean? I mean, the country is split 50-50.
Yeah, that is true.
You gotta, you gotta be careful. That's what I would say. But I mean, I think it's fun. What's wrong with dating someone? I think it's none of our business who he dates. But I
didn't look at the political side of it. I was just thinking of Ron being upset or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, but I think you just got to be, you got to be careful and you got to be mindful.
If I do call him Mr. Ron Palin or Mr. Sarah Palin, what do you think of that?
I don't know. I don't know why you would do it. It's not that funny to me. But maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. So you have a different relationship with the guys and stuff. So.
And that is interesting. You don't even think it's funny at all, right?
Well,
right?
I mean,
I get it. I think it's.
I mean, it's something we would have said when we were in high school. Well, a guy who's suddenly can't hang out with the guys because he's always. We'd say, you married to her now? Are you Mr. whatever the girl's name was?
But you know me. That's kind of the.
No, I know. I've watched your show on Thursday.
That's where our intelligence level settles in at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've talked about this before, but it's just the way it is in hockey. I say all the time, Brian Burke is a Harvard-educated lawyer, and drilling people is part of his shtick. When he's privately, that's just the way it's just the way it works in the league. It doesn't make it wrong. It's just
we still with guys. I was at an event the other day with the guys there, and I was still playing gotcha last. You hit him, and then you walk away real quick. Gotcha last. Right?
Yeah.
60, almost 64 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, why? I don't know what Ron's temperament is now, but if there was any chance that he would be, mad at you for something like that, it would be better to, if you consider yourself a good friend, to.
Right. Ellen thinks I should not do it. Don't do it, Tom. It's a charity event for kids. They won't know who's. Good point. That's an excellent point. Yep.
Yeah, that is a real good point. I didn't know there will be, kids, but
yeah, it is. There's a lot of kids there. Excellent point, Ellen. Thank you. I hate when somebody's right like that all the time.
Yeah. So, but but I still would talk to Ron if you were gonna, make light of it. But her point's a great one. They won't know who she is. So, if there's a lot of kids there, they're not gonna.
Yeah, they might not even get the humor, right? Maybe a lot of people don't get it. Obviously, you didn't get it. Maybe there's.
Well, I got it. It's just not.
I put it the wrong way. I put it the wrong way. Yes, you did get it.
It's not the way that I would do it. But what was I going to say about? Well, speaking of that, we were just talking the other day about there are so many people now that, have never seen here in Detroit, have never seen Steve Yzerman play.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be basically, in your late 30s to have seen Yzerman play, which is, hard to think of. And, Gretzky hasn't played, now since 23 years. So really, you got to be in your late 40s, almost 50 to really appreciate who he was,
That is true. Yeah.
It's just crazy that the world kind of marches on.
And the game has changed so much too. Even if you go back and watch the old films of him playing, you're going, really?
Yeah, like we romanticize the original Six era. That's when I grew up. I watched some of those games and all that, and now you watch tape of that, and you're going, "Are those guys going in slow motion?"
I know. And the goalies look like they can't stop anything. They got these tiny little pads on.
No, I know, but that's not right to think like that, because, and this is what I always say. Gordie Howe played his entire career and 26 seasons. His weight never deviated more than a pound or a pound and a half. Played at 202 pounds.
Right.
I interviewed Glenn Hall on numerous occasions, and at least 2 or 3 times he made reference to the fact that when Gordie played, it seemed like he was 6'8".
Sure.
Because most of the guys in the league were 160 pounds, 165. We've just gotten bigger. Now, if Gordie played today and came up, he would probably play at 220.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he probably would have 220 pounds of muscle. Gordie didn't lift weights. He baled hay.
Yeah.
Which as you know, Tom, will put some muscles on you.
There's some fantastic pictures of Gordie Howe without a shirt on and Bobby.
Oh,
Hall.
yeah.
There's a famous picture of Bobby Hall baling hay. He had the fork going, and he was ripped too. Oh, man.
Well, and conditioning is different now. Like, we know more about it.
Diet.
Diet. It's the same thing. When you were back, the diet was, French fries and beer.
Yeah.
And now I've told this story before, but I had a player tell me, if you want to eat a hamburger, you got to do it alone. If you're with other guys, they will give you grief over it.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
And you pretty much wouldn't have hid your hamburgers back in the.
Oh, no.
80s.
No, God. In fact, it was the other way. Like, if somebody was eating a salad or whatever, like, what the heck are you doing? I remember Robbie Vittoric was stretching in the locker room. We were like, oh, what's he doing? Yeah, it's a totally different mentality.
Well, I remember Bill Gadsby telling me, the late Bill Gadsby now, but when I did his book years ago, that, before a game, he would only have like toast.
Oh.
He'd have a piece of toast from like lunch on, and then, but after the game, he'd go out and have a steak and a side of pasta and a baked potato. Just load it up. And I'm sure there'd be some beer involved.
Oh, God. I remember, so we wouldn't eat. We would eat around 1:00 in the afternoon, or pregame meal, maybe have a little snack before the game. And now you're going into the game, you're losing. You usually lose anywhere from, what depends on what you're playing, 3 to 7 pounds of water weight. So you're totally dehydrated. And the first thing you put in your body after the game back then is a beer, right? So it's like you're leaving the locker room, you feel like you're halfway drunk already. And it's the worst thing in the world for you. You should be drinking lots of water, hydrating, having a good meal, but that's not the way it was done back then.
Well, I remember there were coaches that would withhold water from teams as a punishment.
I know. I remember that. You're not getting any water. You don't need water. Toughen up.
Yeah. Well, just imagine the way Vince Lombardi coached.
Oh, I know.
Back then. So I remember talking about how coaching has changed. I was working in Arizona in the late 1970s, and when Frank Kush was Arizona's great coach, and of course highly respected in Arizona, still is today, and was a football player here in Michigan at Michigan State, and knowledgeable. But one of the accusations, and there were many, about how he coached and why maybe it was time for him to move on, is when guys would get down in a 3-point stance to get ready for the play, he would, during practice, he'd go up and whack them on the back of the leg with a wooden doll, just to make sure that their focus was keen.
Wow.
So, and boy, we sure wouldn't do that, today. Well, I mean, we just had something of that nature when Urban Meyer was accused of kicking a kicker of all things,
Yeah.
who was sitting on the ground. So
Yeah.
he denied.
Here's a little here. We're going to go off the grid here a little bit. On Thursday, we'll have our 100th Thursday show. In the Box, that show is called. So that's going to be, I'm told that's our 100th show. I guess we should count and see how many shows we've done. So we've done 2 a week for the last, when have we done this? Like 4 years or something?
Yeah, we've done a lot of shows. Yeah.
I bet you we must be closing on 500 shows.
Well, yeah, or probably 300 or 400. Yeah.
Oh, I should count that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have like a big.
Well, anyway, we've used up our allotted time. We're getting closer to the trade deadline. We're gonna, as we get closer, we'll start talking a lot more about that. But if you want to read me, I'm at DetroitHockeyNow.com and HockeyBuzz.com.
And again, if you want to listen to the radio version of this show, you can go to radio.co at 365 Sports. Again, that's radio.co at 365 Sports. We'll see everybody on Wednesday.